morning, sir. Good morning, classmates. I am Cathy C. Salazar, the reporter for today. So, my topic is all about the human mind at work, human language processing. So, the objective of this topic is to understand the human language processing, to know the human language processing, and to understand the type of the human language processing. So, the psycholinguistics, the speech signal, and the speech perception and comprehension. So, first is psycholinguistics. So, focuses on linguistics, performance in speech production, and comprehension. We usually don't have problem producing or understanding sentences our language, and we do both without effort or awareness. Some grammatical sentences are difficult to understand. For example, the horses race past the barn field. So it is difficult to understand. And some ungrammatical sentences is too easy to understand. So for example, is the baby seems sleeping. So it can easy to understand. Language processing, this is reading, writing, speaking, listening, and memory. Lexical storage and retrieval, the way words are stored in our mind and used. Last is language acquisition. It is how language is the first learned and used by children. So, psycholinguistic, it is also the action of mind always occur in some language. Of course, in the process of thinking in mind, language may not require grammatical structure, but when it is may expose through speech, it should have some grammatical structure. So the speaker thinks whether the participant understand it or not. In the mind, the concept of anger, emotion, surprise, and joy generates through foreign information which may be expressed either in speech or writing. It is also a study of the language processing, the mechanism. So psycholinguistics deals with the mental processes a person uses and producing and understanding language. It is concerned with the relationship between language and the human mind. For example, how words, sentence, and discourse meaning are represented and computed in the mind. Next is speech signal. So speech sound can be described by their acoustic or physical properties. The vibration or our vocal cords cause vibration of air pressure, and sounds we produce can be described in terms of fundamental frequency and intensity. So fundamental frequency, which means pitch, how fact the vibration of air pressure, the intensity, the magnitude of the vibration, which determines the loudness of sounds. The quality of speech of sounds is determined by the shape of the vocal thread. The shape affects how the sound waves travel. Spectrograms or voice prints, can be created by computer and are used to analyze speech sounds. Spectrograms indicate the intensity formats, the strongest harmonics produced by the shape of the vocal trait during production, and pitch of speech sounds and have recognized by different acoustic properties. So the speech signal as it emerges from the speaker's mouth, nose, and cheeks is one-dimensional function, which is air pressure of time. Microphones convert the fluctuating air pressure into electrical signals, voltage or current, in which from we usually deal with speech signals in speech processing. So what is harmonic? So harmonicity is the frequency domain analog to the periodicity that characterizes many natural sounds, including voice pitch. Periodicity produces frequency components that are multiple of the fundamental frequency, a relationship known as harmonicity. Normalize is in audio normalization is the application of a constant amount of gain to an audio recording to bring the amplitude to a target level, so the norm, because the same amount of gain is applied across the entire recording, the signal to noise ratio and relative dynamics are unchanged. Stationarity. A signal is said to be stationary. Its frequency or spectral contents are not changing with respect of time. This is a very important point. Pause a while and try to understand. Next is speech perception and comprehension. The segmentation problem: how do listeners carve up the continuous speech signal into meaningful units? So, lexical or word recognition is the process of searching your lexicon for phonological strings that correspond to words. Stress and intonation provide clues about the structure. The lack of environs problem: how do listeners recognize different speech sounds when they are used in different contexts and spoken by different people? So listeners can normalize their perception to amount for rate of speech and speaker of differences. Speech perception: the first step in comprehending spoken language is also identifying words being spoken, performed into multiple stages. So first is phonemes are detected. Number 2, phonemes are combined into syllables. 3, syllables are combined into words. And 4, the word meaning retrieved from memory. Comprehension: speech perception of the smallest used units of speech on app. The lexical access: it is the finding the entry in memory. Word recognition: it is the getting meaning of individual words. Sentence understanding: it is the putting words together and extracting meaning. And discourse processing: it is understand connected sentences and deriving intent speaker, which is as well as literal message. So, what is speech perception? It is the process by which the sounds of language are heard, interpreted, and understood. The study of speech is closely linked to the fields of phonology and phonetics, interlinguistics, and cognitive psychology and perception and psychology. What is speech comprehension? It is the identification of the speech signal against the auditory background and its transformed from the information. So when we hear sounds, the brain processes those sounds into information and then stores them as a memory. So when we hear that sounds against, we can correlate a meaning to it. Thank you for listening.